Sterring, picture them brothers. Is Sterring, they're Black Sterring.
Hey, I'm Kunta.
And I'm Peta.
Welcome to Black Sterring Radio, a podcast where we dissect TV shows, films, music, and culture
To ask how black women are represented and seen on screen.
Alrighty, jumping into it.
Back.
We're back. Good
Yes.
morning. Top of the morning.
Top of the
Hey
morning.
guys, welcome back to Black Sterring Radio. Yes, welcome back. Today is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited and nervous as well, but also I just want to get into it. How are you, Peta?
I'm good. How are you, Quinta?
I'm good. You're from Cape Town.
I am fresh from Cape Town
I
last
love
night
this
with a
week.
bang. Thank you. Yes, we are fresh from Cape Town.
Yeah.
We have a very special guest today.
We do have a very special guest today.
We're
probably
also
just-
starting a new...
Series, actually,
Little
right?
series. Yeah, do you
Forgot
wanna
all about it.
explain
Yes.
that?
So we are here today and starting a series, our first installment of the Black Sterring Interview Masterclasses, where we where you have conversations with creative practitioners and prominent voices in our industry, or in any industry really, because I do think creativity is a human thing. But yeah, we look at creatives. We're going to try and get as many femmes and women as we can, but whomever is in the industry, to kind of take us through their process, give us a bit about who they are and how they do their thing, so we can learn as well and get to know a lot more about them. Just chats and a bit of education. What do they call it?
Edutainment.
Edutainment, yeah, like edu-chats, you know. So yeah, it's a masterclass, and it's our first one today. We're so excited. We've also got running the Black Sterring Awards.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. We're actually launching those today. We're in talks about them, but definitely we're starting out with that. We're starting out with a few categories, and yeah, do you wanna?
Yeah, sure.
us
I
into
mean,
the
for
awards?
us, it's more about... half of it is a spoof. The other half is just like creating our own award shows that feel less formal and serious.
Yeah.
Equally formal, equally serious, but also just,
Fun.
I don't know, fun. Awards can be quite a little bit hectic these days.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be a bit weird if you think of the urban contemporaries and categories.
The
where we don't
categories,
quite
the
know
the
what they
segmentation, the
mean.
segregation,
What is genre,
the urban.
really? Yeah.
That urban category always gets me because it's like
Blacks.
Nobody
That's where we
knows
put
what
the
that
blacks.
is.
The blacks,
yeah, it's like
right?
everything black that we don't
but they don't
understand,
ever
we're just
want to
gonna
say
put over
blacks.
there.
They
No,
never
of
want to
course
say
not.
the
No,
ghetto.
no, of
no,
course
no,
not.
no. They
Let's
can
find
never say
any
it.
other word around it, you know. Let's find. But yeah,
Yes, so those will be coming up soon. But today we have a very special guest.
very special guest. Oh my gosh.
We have the one and only Pabi Moloi. And she has been on screen for as long as we can remember. Began as a host on KTV, for those of you old enough, millennials.
Yeah.
We're on KTV on Mnet. She is a very exceptional broadcaster across Metro FM 947. She's currently on Power FM for Power Lunch, and she also has a podcast alongside her brother.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
which
how
is
we
really fun. She's been on Trending SA, The Morning Show, genuinely somebody well-versed in the game of broadcasting
Yeah.
and speaking to
A
people.
true veteran,
Format
hey.
TV. Yes, give it up for Pabi
I
Moloi.
want to give flowers. Award-winning.
Yes.
You know, raid the South African Radio Awards, the SAFTA Awards for best TV talk show as well.
Yes, talk
You
show
know,
host.
I
yeah.
remember actually Play TV with that you did
Yes,
with
with
Darren.
Darren.
That was
Yes.
my favorite
Yes.
thing in the world. And I remember it was a lot of daytime TV that you actually like started out doing, or like I remember it was KTV, but also Play TV was sometime during that. It was an odd time
It
of
was
the day. I was
daytime.
like, oh
That's
my
what I was going to
gosh.
say. Located for me in terms of your life, because we had a lot of university students who would watch Play
Yes,
TV.
I think I was in
TV,
university.
okay.
It was an odd time
Yeah.
of the day.
So kids wouldn't necessarily be, I mean, 2:00 maybe. Maybe.
It was something
But-
like that. It was on
Okay.
SABC3
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was so much fun. And it was gamified. And I mean, you've presented a billion types of formats.
Yeah.
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 Like
Yeah.
how, like it's, I can imagine one day is never the same for you. It's like, or one project is never the same for you. But hi.
Hello. Hello. I'm
even
so
know which
happy to
camera
be
to
here.
We're happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. I think when we first met at the Spotify get together, because my podcast with my brother, a brother
Yes,
and a sister
absolutely, a
podcast with
brother and a
Khabani, we all got together and had kind of a cocktail event and got to know each other and what this process was going to be like. And then when we went around the room and talked about what our podcasts were about,
Yes.
I remember hearing your concept. I don't know if you could see. I was like, I came straight to you guys and I was like, and then this, and then that, and then I think this, and what that moment, and then this Messiah. Do you remember?
We were so starstruck. We were both like,
Yeah, we were starstruck.
I was
No,
so
no,
We
into
get
no,
that
it.
no,
a
no.
lot.
little
We
bit
get that a
starstruck.
lot. The fact that we lean into nostalgia.
Yes.
Because we do get that a lot in the
But the nostalgia are the building blocks, right? So once I've watched episodes of current television that you analyze or media that you analyze, but that comes from somewhere, particularly in South Africa. It's a very personal story to me. Because there weren't spaces, or we were treated a certain way, or we were brought on for a particular reason that, maybe I only realized 10, 15 years down the line that 1996 or 1995 even, it could have been, we were sent on a thing called KTV for Africa summer tour, right? So every year we'd have a summer tour where you go from coastal town to coastal town. And obviously the KTV kids who loved the shows would come and meet us. And it was like Disney. We'd sing, we'd do competitions, we'd dance, we'd bring people up and teach them choreography. We'd do sit on a balloon and pop it.
camp.
It was
like a boot camp. How old were you at that point
from
in time?
about age 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you mean
That's
boot
really
camp?
young.
I mean, a boot camp of just you are singing, you are dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, we were
It's like you have
multi-talented.
to know
Yeah.
how to do everything.
You
yeah.
kind of have to.
So we do that, and what I didn't realize is all of the imagery was of us in kente attire or with a little African hat or
Because it's for Africa.
for Africa. And I was like,
Oh,
so I was used for this purpose that I didn't really know at the time. I mean, at 11, it doesn't matter what you kind of know around you that, the country's burning or we've come into democracy or whatever it is.
yeah.
But I only realized how strategic that was much, much later on. So there's a lot of very interesting building blocks around who the Black Sterring is in South Africa.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I was watching a documentary about how strategic things were when we came into democracy. Those Mandela years were quite, and a lot of, I think it's where the Model C kind of our generation kind of was ushered into being without really knowing. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing, but there was this performance about it, this you must speak this way and you must carry yourself this way and you must and even our parents were listen, it's important for you to, our parents and the English guys, let's not be, our parents are actually the English masters.
They are
actually the
because one thing about black parents is the words
And
and
of
the
that generation,
gallivanting and all of the big words that they love to use.
we gang.
Honestly, genuinely very well studied, but it was such an emphasis on English.
Get told you were dilly-dallying at any point in your life. Did you actually have a childhood?
Were you
living?
If there was no accusation of a gallivanting.
Yeah.
And it was just
Gallivanting with the whole neighborhood.
the whole neighborhood out there, and it's it's interesting for me to have started out there, and what that meant for you. like, you know, like your persona, then that's where it started. Like, is that something that you lean into? Is that something that you was that a forming?
Which part?
The start of that, like, you know, starting out with
Model
Disney,
C at that kind of time.
And, yeah, like maybe you can let us know like how it then went from there. Like,
I'll take you a little bit before. I started doing commercials when I was 4 years old. So I did my first commercial for some literacy campaign, and then I went on and I did like every washing powder you
was
can
this
imagine.
Intentional though to go into TV? To do commercials, to be on camera? Yes. Okay.
I was not pushed into anything. I was not coerced into anything. I was never even, I didn't have to be encouraged.
Oh,
So I went to a Catholic school. Every reading, I put my hand up. I want to. If there's someone who's gonna read the rules and regulations, safety announcement. That was my personality.
Yeah.
That's who I am. So fortunately, my mother, my grandfather, and my aunt are all in the industry in some kind of way.
Okay.
And so I got an agent, which isn't like in America where it's a hard thing to do when you have to qualify because you've done X amount of hours. An agent here, you just knock on the door and you say, look, I'm talented. And then they take you on or they don't take you on, right? So I was very, very, very young. 4 years old, did my first commercial, and then 11 KTV came into play. And I also went to a very interesting school where a lot of political heads' children went.
Okay.
So, like, we were woke. And then in my family, there are many MKKers from my family. So I was very aware of where I am in the, you know, the hierarchy of people.
Kind of family that like.
Never as a woman though, that never penetrated. Yeah. I never, ever, and I think it's from the way I was raised, felt somehow downtrodden as a woman. But I could understand, so I'm here because I'm like one of the first or second cohort. Okay, cool. I, at 3 or 4 years old, cannot control that the teachers say, don't speak Sesotho at school.
Yeah.
You have to practice your English at school, right? And then we can't say Paballo. So now we call you Pabi. So that came, okay? And then, so I don't know if it was me leaning into a persona. I don't know if it was just a conglomeration of everything that I knew and that I also wanted, because I know to be a performer, you need to be performative. So I do understand that. But yes, everything shaping me. Yeah. And I think it was very interesting kind of later on in life, one of my kind of first radio gigs at YFM, where it really, and I was 22 at the time, it really started to, I was like, how am I so disconnected linguistically in terms of my references? Like, I'm very, very disconnected from people who look like me and who are my age, etc. And then Facebook came about, and then I'd look at all of the girls that I went to school with, who were the white girls, and all of their pictures were just them with other white girls. So it really made sense to me that, this was fake what we were doing at that school. Fake. Do you know what I mean? Like that's not a real reflection of South Africa in any way, shape or form. And then we all come together with this KTV for Africa, which also may be a construct, but there it was just a little bit easier because nobody else understood what we're going through. Like KTV kids, YoTV kids, no one else. You guys need to. No one else knows what we've experienced.
Yeah, because genuinely for us, that was the first time we saw people at a similar age to us on TV being presenters, introducing shows. I remember going to KTV Market Day. Like, yes. But it was always really fun and really nice, honestly, to see someone that looked like me, because you as Babalo was someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, as Keta looked like me. And I was like,
yes.
I also have to shorten my name to Keta because nobody knows how to say it properly. But yeah, like, because you've almost been behind the curtain. And I suppose now we don't have as much scheduled kids content or formatting.
Yeah.
Even it feels like there's a missing gap between content for children.
Yeah.
And then they just jump straight into like hyper adult stuff as well.
Who knows what
So
these
it
days?
feels
I don't know.
like the middle is
Mine
missing
too.
because we had an active, like there were shows for us in our toddler years, but also in preteen years and like teenagers. It felt like they were actual shows for us and things that we could watch.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I wonder, I hope that they things that their kids are watching.
I wouldn't know what the kids are watching. But I think it's so interesting that fakeness of it and like that disconnect when you're then in the room with other blacks, right? Like
Pretty
with
much.
with other blacks and
only each other.
yes, and realizing how disconnected we are, like how different our experiences are, and that experience of your a picture of you and you're the only black. That's like such a common experience where you're just like, hey, I'm the only black. And it was aspirational, guys. It was aspirational. There was a time in our lives when that was the good thing to be the
I
black,
don't know
the
if
only
it
black.
was consciously aspirational.
I mean, not
for a lot of
consciously.
us.
It was a lot of it was not conscious.
Because I was 10 in 1994. I wasn't necessarily like an activist. I didn't quite know it was conscious. But you're absolutely right. There was a lot of that was going on.
Yeah.
And maybe it's spilled down from our parents.
Yeah, no,
about
absolutely.
look how much we're spending on Model C
There was
schools.
always that money chat of like, don't
integration. But I think because I remember my mom.
Yeah, don't rock the
embarrass
boat.
me.
Yeah, and
Don't
also
fail.
like
Don't go be an
The black
activist.
excellence. That's why we're
take the
far too
opportunity.
we're
Keep your
far
mouth
too good at
quiet. Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
We're far too good at it. We're overqualified at everything. We speak too well.
What? Udzibingi.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, like my parents were quite actively, like also in both of them were in MK, like they actually like even met in exile, or whatever. So there was quite a family thing of like speak up.
Conscientizing.
Yeah, like conscientizing, but also like never letting yourself just fall away in the room. So speaking up, and then I remember even in school, them always being like, "Yo, you like." Guys really have like white friends, hey? Like, and I didn't get it at the
your
time.
parents
Yeah, my parents
would remark on that.
being like, you guys are really like chums, hey? And I don't think I got why for them it was like, this is you guys are from a different generation where there's a lot more blending. There's obviously a lot more violence, and like you can coexist in space and there isn't as much. It didn't feel like there was as much segregation, especially in younger years. I think going into high schools when things started getting sticky.
When you grow up, I guess.
Varsity was even more sticky and like, okay, now we're starting to deal with fees must fall. And
When your eyes are opened. When your eyes are opened, yeah.
So being told that like, no, but like you speak so well for a black person and all those little microaggressive things that were kind of said, you're like, okay.
So I traveled a long journey with that because I truly believe the way that my tongue works, if I were to be plonked in whichever country across the continent, okay, where do they speak French? The Congo, Burkina Faso, whatever, and live there for a while, learn the language, I'm going to sound native.
Yeah.
My tongue is, I just pick that up with languages.
And that's a skill.
Well, I didn't know, but that's inherent, right? So that for me was always, why do you speak that way? I actually don't know because I'm just speaking English. I don't hear anything different. But then there are other children who went to other kind of super top private schools, and you can hear what this
that
is.
It's put on.
And I don't understand if it is indeed put on.
Yeah.
Or
but there
if
you
it
go.
is.
You're doing an
What
accent.
is it?
You're doing an accent.
You see?
You're doing an accent, which is a linguistic skill.
It's a skill.
You know, to be able to put on and listen. It's a listening.
So when people say you sound exactly like that person, my mind becomes scrambled eggs and I can't understand. Or like our brothers who went to the big rugby schools. And they're like,
guys, like, what are we gonna do? Hey?
Yes,
like,
like,
it's very,
yes, like,
it's very,
you know?
Yeah, because maybe, I mean, it has to be environment to a
It's
certain
very
degree.
much environmental.
Because a
if
lot
you
of
listen,
us have the Model C.
yes, and if you listen to their
accent, yeah.
peers, their white counterparts, colored counterparts, whoever else is in the school, they sound the same.
Yeah.
They're also butts.
Yeah.
So it's not a black, maybe it's assimilation, yes, but where I'm not putting on it. I don't wake up and go, and now I can carry on with my day. That doesn't happen. So I suppose the point that I'm making is that there was a lot that was put onto us.
Without even knowing, because it is like as a spell, we were under the spell and our bodies were then like, you become this is who I am.
Yeah, we were sold the rainbow. That's what I believe.
The Rainbow Nation,
Yeah, the whole TRC thing. But then moving into knowing then, waking up.
Yes.
Waking up as a teenager, because I know I was a very feisty bitch ass teenager.
Yes.
I was calling everything out. Like I was actually quite difficult.
But for me, even
in the school, like, I mean, the perception, that's the feedback that I was getting, because I also know I was disrupting. I know I was intentionally disrupting things that didn't make sense to me. So there was that tension, that difficulty.
I'm laughing because I've been told that I am the same way a lot, and it's probably one of the best qualities a person can ever have, disrupting the status quo as a black woman. And it's not easy, but because to shut you up, you're difficult.
Yes, that's the
difficult?
thing.
Yeah.
That's
That
the
was always
thing.
the
That's the
label.
thing.
So if you're able to get through, I don't care if you don't like me.
Yeah.
This rule is wrong.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
And I think it was more of a tug at school, because a lot of us would also be very smart as well. So it's like, I'm not just saying this to say this.
Yeah.
We're kind of questioning because we're like,
this doesn't make sense to
why
me.
is there a rule in the code of conduct about how my cornrows must be? Or like, there are a lot of things that were like funny and weird.
And I'd break all the rules. I was outrageous.
Yeah.
I'd put blue in my braids. I'd
Absolutely.
Put, you didn't
Because
say
you're allowed to
colored braids. You just said braids.
Yeah.
So I'm doing what it says in the school
Oh, and they
rules.
had issues with our hair.
Oh,
child.
hey, don't get me started.
Child.
Yeah.
But
Tying
then
afros in a
being a broadcaster, like at that point where you now like working, were you understanding that now I'm a broadcaster, and what's my thing?
Yeah, so at some point I remember my good friend Michelle Bowers at the time, Barnes now, who comes from the colored community, and I staged our own KTV protest.
Okay. I love that. Thank you, Pabi, for doing that. Thank you for doing that.
This is wrong. Something's wrong about this. This doesn't represent us. So we put on the thickest version of whatever accent, right? So like the thickest version of
protest,
and say all my lines in that for the day or for the week, depending. I don't know. Like our protests would come and go; they were sporadic, and then she'd put on the thickest colored accent that she could muster, because, and we went to the same school, so we had similar kind of ways to speak in the first place, but then we just were like, no.
Yeah.
And so that was 16, 17.
Yes.
And then I got into a lot of trouble. I directed a production in school. I directed the Colored Museum. You look that up. I can't remember the author right now, the playwright, but the Colored Museum essentially talks a lot about racial dynamics in America and
I wonder if
and how problematic certain things are, and like a wide array of things from rape to being the stooge who performs for everybody. Like it's a wide array of things. And so I did that for my
the colored
matric.
experience.
The black experience,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, the
Yes.
colored,
Yes.
the colored
Colored
experience. Yes,
experience.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I directed that for my matric production.
Director hat. Here we
Okay.
go.
No, it
Here
was
we
just-
go.
it was just
Listen,
matric.
if you've
Everything is
directed
the same.
something
Guys.
Okay, but trying to direct matrix.
in matric,
With the issues
work.
that I was given, listen to this.
Just trying to direct classmates.
in the writing
on
room we go.
stage.
I mean, apart from what I do in my house, that was the first and last thing I directed anyone to do. And I made the mistake of saying, I'd like this kind of production. So I don't mind who comes to work on lights or staging, or like, that's fine. We can create a production unit. But for who I want on stage, I would like it to reflect what is written in the story.
Yes.
So I'd like it to be, for example, if we're casting somebody who is presenting the experience of being someone who lives with albinism and talking about their freckles, it would be so great if you looked very close to that to us, right?
Yes.
And so I wasn't going to cast any non-black players
Yeah.
to reflect the colored experience on stage. And I, with my group of 3 other very feisty directors, we thought that was going to be fine.
I
right?
mean, naturally, you know.
So we put that up in the thing. And so when we were advertising, come for auditions on such and such a date, we made that quite clear. And I don't think we said, and if we did, then maybe it's problematic, but I don't think we said only blacks, you know, like no whites allowed. I don't think we said that.
Yeah.
I think we said we'd like our characters to look as close to the description in the source material as possible.
Oh, it was
Trouble
seen as a
came.
flight.
Trouble comes.
So we get reported by this first set of, girls. I know who they are.
okay.
And they report us. Report also. It's
report
like,
when you were reported.
Hey.
Like,
I don't know when the South African
in the
Human Rights
principal's
Council was
office.
started, but now we
yeah.
were reported. It's a human rights violation. Why can't we also...
Abelungu,
we
guys,
are also
goddamn.
actors. We are also... I said, but listen, your skill set is great on stage, but I would love to work with you as a co-producer or, you know, whatever it is. And I know how creative you are artistically. I mean, imagine what you could do for our set. No, we want to have an equal opportunity to be on stage. So that got called into the principal's office, who already, because of my constant questioning of everything, side-eyed me.
Of course,
But
here
I
we go,
stood
you
inside.
again.
I looked, I didn't side-eye. And I don't know where that came from, but I had to say, hang on. So if I didn't say we'd like this type of skin tone to audition, if I didn't say that and then just cast whoever I wanted to cast, I would have gotten away with it.
true.
My problem is that I said,
it
this is what we
explicitly said.
prefer. So I'm gonna go out into the world. No, you know, and it was loud. It was crazy, and it took away from our experience of even being able to prepare and direct that program. Because
Did it end up coming to life?
Yeah.
yes, we
the play?
did.
Okay.
Well, we
You
had
fought
to.
for
It was for matric, so I had to do it.
okay.
Otherwise,
You needed to do
I
for
wouldn't be
that.
able to
Yeah.
pass.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had the meeting in the principal's office, and he said, you know, in South Africa in these days, it's not supposed to be like that. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
And then it became a debate with either all the matrics or everybody in the school who studied drama. So we had a hall.
Wow.
There was a basketball, like, a hall, whatever. So it's huge. That place was packed just because of our play. Guys, I was like, I don't care if we get to stage our play or not.
This is a
but this
moment.
means
Yeah, it
something.
does.
Yes.
This means something.
It did.
Yeah.
And I think to this day there's a part of me that toes the line because I don't want to fight everything. But there's a part of me that understands that if I'm going to go in to fight for something to work, I'm going all the way in.
Yeah, if I'm
like
fighting,
I'm going in.
Yeah.
And then straight after KTV, I left when I was 19 and I crossed over into radio, and I was on 947 for a long time. And then my first television program that I did as a non-child performer was on SABC2. It was called Comedy Cabin. And essentially we had this big van and we'd go literally being anywhere we could across the country, because there's always going to be, you know, that funny uncle who tells jokes, or these kids balanzanang, or whatever it is, right? So we'd put that on stage. And the SABC didn't want me because I don't sound like a conventional
from the
Mosotho girl from the hood, right? And this speaks a lot to allies, like people in the business who will speak for you in rooms that you're not in.
Very important.
And I'll always name him by name. And I would, Des, if it irritates you, you must tell me, then I'll stop. But Desmond Dube was the curator and creator of this. And he's so great. He's so great. Wow. And he went in and he said,
an institution.
He said it.
Honestly.
Yeah, but of course she doesn't sound like that, because she'd been sent to study in England, and now she's back, and that is why she's with her uncle, reintegrating into society.
And this is a very valid South African experience. Thank you.
And then I got commissioned to be part of the program. So, you know, I had to jump over those hoops a lot because of how you speak. But then on the other side, I'm on Highveld, and assimilating there wouldn't make sense any other way. So it was always a duality. It's always been a duality. But it also, in a lot of ways, what I find very interesting, I can talk, just by the way. So if you need to say things, say things. Another thing that I found interesting is that why would I come and fight you about the fact that you speak a certain way or you've had a certain experience? Why would I not, as a fellow Black girl, engage with you or think about it? Or like, why would I come and call you? You think you're better than us.
But that was always always the then we get into like tribal black on black. You know, that's what black on black is, isn't it? It's that segregation that was like, now, you know, you are the better Black when you speak a certain way. So
the cheese girls, the cheese boy.
There are these things that,
which I don't minimize, because I'm certain there are people who
very emotional experiences
actively would say that, but your emotional experience, I can't really question that.
Yeah.
How do you feel looking a certain direction versus looking a different direction, right? At others is what I mean. So I can't diminish that experience, but I feel it would have been, no, let me not say that. I feel I could have been happier if we were just able to see each other as people and maybe just have a think about, but our parents were told that this is the best thing to do for our children. That's why they did it. Not because we think anything different of ourselves comparatively to anybody else.
Because it was that, just giving us what they thought was the best route out of that system that kind of oppressed them.
And that's what they were sold as well.
That's
English
what they were sold as well.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting one because it definitely was positioned as aspirational, and there was another side. There is that Black experience that aspired to the one that you had, you know, and that is going to be an emotional experience. And I hear you, but that's the privilege, right, that we have to be so grateful for our parents offering us that moment to be able to reflect on that and say, hey, can we have that conversation? The other side did not have the privilege of like reflection and just like, you know, all of that. So it does become difficult. I definitely, those are the dynamics of Black on Black.
Diminish that at all. You're right.
Those are the dynamics, you know, and it's like you get called a coconut, you get called this, you know.
What's a coconut? Just kidding.
Don't you dare. Don't you even trigger me right now.
How is that not like inscribed into my
Like,
skin?
I feel like we all need to get that. I'm not a coconut. I'm not a coconut.
But for me, I think even to date, and maybe it's only changing now. You're aware of the Coconut podcast, right? With the two young ladies who talk about their experiences of being called a coconut, etc.
I need to check that out.
And I think that's one of the first times that's been given legitimacy. You had to be ashamed of yourself for not grunting or grunting or
especially in the hood, they tell you don't speak English here. Don't speak English at the taxi rank. Don't speak English at this plaza.
and that's still today, right?
Which is also like,
you know, like it's so shaky. But it is because it's like
we don't give people room to learn either.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Black people are harsh.
Because
Black
of
people
all
are
the
harsh.
jokes, you're like, I'm just gonna charge it to the game. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. So I just I think that there is only for the first or second or third generation now it's happening where there's kind of the permission to share your own experience. Because I felt like completely shut down. Like you're not allowed to say anything negative about that experience. You know, you had this, or we gave you this, so you have no right. You know,
You went to the best schools.
yeah, and so now it's happening, and I think it's good because everyone deserves an opportunity to go, oh, that felt really whack, or that was hard to overcome. But by the time I got to YFM, it was
How was that experience? Because YFM is quite, and back in the day, YFM was my favorite place in the
absolutely.
world,
Me
honey.
too.
I loved it so much. I actually miss those days.
I dreamt of working there.
so much.
Honestly,
But there was such a young, rebellious black experience. All of the young black kids at YFM, you know, you had your freshers, you had your unatis, you had your zolas, and then you have Pabi, you know, like this is like, you know, these were like our big brothers and sisters were like, oh my God, doing this, you know, and they're integrating. And how was that then experience to...
It was fine, thanks. And how are you? It was. Look, I don't talk about it or give it too much credence in terms of the actual experience for myself. I've talked about it a lot before, and I don't want to give it so much of a presence in my life anymore. But for me, what I can be absolutely grateful for is that my age allowed and the type of personality I had at the time allowed, and I integrated very quickly. So culturally, very quickly, I could pick up what they were putting down. Musically, very quickly, like I got it. And I think that that's one of the places that I had my of everything that works to make black culture in South Africa, youth culture in Gauteng, who's who in the zoo. Those 2 years gave me an amazing baptism of what that was. And so that I'm incredibly grateful for, to be able to carry that moving forward.
What were the drawbacks? If you just, because I am
You're
interested
very
in
clever.
that.
Use a different word. Maybe she'll say. There were a lot of challenges there for me.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of challenges and kind of things that were beyond my power. But what also was in my power, I think I could have dealt with a little bit better. I was only 22. I'd never been the lead of a team like that before. I had no managerial.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no managerial support whatsoever. I didn't quite know how to advocate for myself being 22. I started in radio at 18. So already to be on that kind of platform at 22, that's outrageous. Outrageous. And so perhaps I should have said no and waited. But who would do that?
It was YFM at the time.
Please don't give me the lottery money because I don't know if I'll be responsible
with
never. Get out of here.
So for those of us, or for people who don't know, what does it take? What is it like running your own show?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Okay,
What
so
does it mean?
it depends.
Yeah, on the other side.
Yeah.
Because for us as the listeners, it was like, oh, this is great.
And it
But
sounds
what
like
actually happened?
you know?
Yeah,
You
we'd be
know?
like, oh, it's fun. It's vibes. Yeah, so
How
what
can I make
happens
this interesting?
behind
I can
the
also
curtain?
imagine working because it's actually still it's a very professional environment.
Technical.
Yeah, and were you working with a lot of men as well? Were you? Mm-hmm. Yes, okay.
Okay.
One of the first meetings I had with management at Y, the manager at the time looked at me. I was 22, and he said, "You're not getting pregnant anytime soon, are you?"
Oh my God. These are the things, hey?
Wow.
These are the things. These are the things.
So do you see? I don't want to
That
be the
black
person
women
who's always
have to
like,
deal
and
with.
then they said, "I'm sorry," because there's so many stories that eventually my brand is going to be.
Yeah.
She calls them out.
Yeah.
That's my next podcast. I'm sorry. Can I just PTY Limited? What is the thing? I've stamped it. It's mine.
Trademark, yes. Yeah.
So that was the culture.
Wow.
That was a lot of
The
what was happening.
misogyny. There's some misogyny.
And perhaps not from people on air. It was a lot
The bosses.
trickles down from top down. So there was that. What it's like to work on radio. So
Yes.
I got onto radio at age 18. I stood in a line like the Idols line, when the Idols go to sing there. Yeah. And so I was at Nelson Mandela Square, and we stood in the snaking line for hours and hours and hours. And then there was another one somewhere in the East Rand, somewhere in the West Rand. And the station was looking for their next voice. It was called Hot Jocks. So the next Hot Jock. Because that's not 80s.
Yeah.
And so I won that contest. I won that competition. Myself and another guy, Julio. And we won that. And our prize was essentially a foot in the door to start in radio. So that comprised of, for me at the time, reading traffic on breakfast, and then later on reading traffic on the afternoon drive show. And then also doing graveyard. So graveyard is from 1 to 4. They split it up differently in different radio stations. It can be 12 to 3 and then 3 to 6 or whatever they do, but AM.
Graveyard.
Graveyard.
That's quite a slot, eh?
yeah.
And that is like your in slot. That's for your newbies, right? That's
Pretty
for
much.
Pretty
Like the
much.
training.
Yes, the training ground.
Radio today is very different to radio in 2001. So now what I'm explaining could be a little bit more extinct because you don't quite know. A person who's brand new,
That's
has
true.
never done radio before, doesn't know how to do radio, can be put on
In the morning.
or
That's what
where,
you're
you
saying.
know what I'm saying? So radio, media, and the actors complain to me as well when I interact with them on air, because they're like, just because I don't have 1 million followers doesn't mean that I'm not able to.
This is the age we're living in
So
today. Hey, it's like
so strange.
Yeah, so I can only tell you what I experienced.
Yeah.
Okay. So I won that, and I did graveyard for maybe 6 months, and I got my own show.
Okay.
Which was a Saturday night. Either only Saturday night or Saturday and Sunday, I don't remember. But then Monday to Friday, I'm still reading traffic.
Okay.
Then I got poached by Metro FM, and they were looking for someone to do their weekend breakfast. And they put me together with this beautiful girl, Nana Mulwa. And Nana and I did the show. And it was the most noisy, messy, delinquent, professional, emotional, over the top. It was sensational, the kind of radio that we did.
Wow.
We were nuts. And it's also because Saturday, 9:00 after the show, we go down to Melville and start
And
drinking.
have a jola.
No, start drinking. And then Sunday morning, somehow, we arrived to do our show.
Right.
Like, we were not contained
How do you,
or professional. We were not.
how much control do you have in radio?
None.
But what like control as in
okay, or rather control in what the theme of today's show is. Is that based on audience? Is it data? Is it you guys just being like,
hey, this is what we're going to
do today?
Do you have a manager? Do you have, because I know there's always like a producer in the wings.
So
are we pitching stories?
Yes.
Yeah. Because it would be nice to genuinely know, but also I like the idea that you guys could come back from Marvel and just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I think some of the biggest...
that?
I don't know if it's just my experience. I hardly have had any interaction, pause, like the reins being pulled back from management. I've hardly had that. There's a positive and a negative to that. So there's never really been anyone to go, you're doing well. If you add a little bit of this, and this, then you could do better. I've never had that.
From both sides.
But I've also never had, I've had, this is crap, take it off, which isn't helpful. But I've also never had, let's have a discussion about, no, we can't do this, we move this. I don't, that's just my experience.
You like, no. This is what's not going on air.
So if for 2 years you've been doing things that have worked and your listeners love it, and it's beautiful, and you're in a rhythm of it, and you know how to do it, and a radio is appointment listening, right? Because everything streams now, so you can stream whenever you want. But radio, I'm there from 12 to 3. Yeah. So you either catch it. There'll be podcasts, but you catch it, right? And so for 2 years you've been doing this, and then one day someone comes in and says, "Nah, I don't like it," and then it must be pushed off. That's what I mean by there's no real
industry
control.
It's like the Wild West.
It is the Wild West.
Okay.
So then after that, with Nana, then I got poached to go to Y, then I did my 2 years at Y, and then Highveld asked me to come back, and then I did 5-6 years at Highveld, and then Power was starting. But while I was at Highveld, they owned 702, so I always wanted to do talk radio. I just knew that I couldn't be 47 back announcing Mary J. Blige songs. I knew.
It's like there's got to be more to this.
And I didn't even know about Sabrina Carpenter. And
I know, because you have to know these things,
You're like,
I was just like, come on, guys.
What's the next
I've got a brain.
level?
Can we just... And so they never really let me.
To be a talk show host.
They never give me like a graveyard. Just give me Wednesday graveyard.
And I'll chat.
And maybe you find I hate it.
Yeah.
And then I'm off your back. And they didn't give me that opportunity. And I fought very hard there. There I fought very, very hard, because I knew that I knew what I wanted to do.
Was this at Highveld?
Yes. Okay. To be given an opportunity on 702. They own both.
Okay.
So then 2013 came around, and they cordially invited me to never come back to the building. And then Power was starting.
Okay.
And I had a conversation with the owner of Power, and I was like, I want to do talk. This is what I want to do. And so I moved there, did music for a while, and moved into talk.
Wow. Nice. And we're right there at Power.
And this is where we are now. Yeah, 11 years later.
How
what a baby Power. Yeah. I always forget how much of a younger station.
Yes, it is a young station, but it's so impactful. And I remember it. I don't remember who the owner was, but I remember when it was like coming up and emerging, it was like, wow, this seems like a Black 702. It feels like because Reedy was also on Power.
No,
was
Reedy
she
was
not?
never on Power. Was Reedy ever? No, Reedy wasn't on Power.
Who else
Eusebius.
Rest.
Rest in peace. Azania, Musaka.
I really love.
And I think because a lot of them are still there who
started out there.
Who I would mention. So
Was John Perlman?
No, he was on that other Cosmopolitan one.
Yeah, and then
the Afropolitan.
Left. Yeah, the Afropolitan one.
Yeah.
Okay, and how transitioning into like talk radio?
Well, I didn't initially. So I did music. I did nighttime music
Okay.
for a while, and it was fine. And then I got the opportunity to stand in for different shows.
Yeah.
And that's then when you really learn, oh, Sherbet, this takes so much prep. So back to your question. It takes a lot of prep.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of self-confidence because in the moment, I ask you a question, you respond back to me with something that either has a thread to something historically or something someone else just said or a story that's just broken. If I'm just following my questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can't make that juicier.
Yeah.
So I've got to just know, you just got to kind of be informed about most things, just know a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
And so standing in helped me a lot because then I'd be able to build the muscle to do it. And then I got on to weekend breakfast, which was really fun, 6 to 10, 6 to 9 over the weekend mornings. So that was really fun. And I think that's where I really strengthened my voice because I know who I am and my talk radio is never going to sound like anyone else's talk radio. My personality is never going to be like anyone else's personality. And now on lunch as well, it's a similar thing where people know, even when it's serious, she's going to put a Donald Trump impression voice on. Like, and that comes up. And that's when you really connect with your audience.
Yeah. Okay. So talk radio then, what do you talk about? What are your themes? What do you then, because you have a whole, now it's a talk show, and it is about you. It's almost like.
Well, it's not about me.
I mean,
so that's the first thing, right?
Okay.
So it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's in the first hour, it's about only news. So we touch on stories that have been unfolding during the day. Mm-hmm. So
news, current affairs. Yes. You have to be plugged in.
And I have a wonderful producer and a wonderful technical producer. So I have a beautiful team. And then from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we talk about all of the things that make up society. So, it's easy to blame Nyaupe boys or children who are so frustrated with whatever is happening at school, they burn down their library. But why is that happening? Where's the disconnect? Where have we not found ourselves as people? And we can do an analysis of a conversation around it. So this thing that's come up recently about we've been leaving the boys behind. Remember there was take a girl child to work day.
It's a conversation that's coming up a lot.
In crisis,
men are in exactly. And so we had an hour-long discussion with a psychologist and someone who specializes in raising boys. Bring in experts. Sometimes we'll talk about like really silly things like dating experiences that people have. But then sometimes we talk about things that, in the world of talk radio, people are like, that's light, that's lifestyle, meaning it's not very impactful or important. People just want to talk about politics, which I honestly would throw up. The entire day, don't we know what this man said at the press conference? We know. Why are we still analyzing it 3 days later? Stop. Can we talk about what happens when you are parentified and you're the firstborn child and you feel you cannot pursue your own dreams because you've got to look after your siblings?
Things,
Isn't that also a relevant topic?
It is. It's the sociology.
Yes, do you get what I'm saying?
Right? The family dynamic. We're getting into the
life, the actual living experience. And I find, and I do want to then point out, of course, I mean, not leaving the boy children behind, but that just even that inclusion of that topic or that approach is such a feminist, caring way of looking at things, right? And a masculine gaze will just want to analyze and go and have these ego battles. You listen to sports shows and politics shows, and that's just fighting about who's the best, and it's like analyzing the most.
Can you swear on this
details.
or not?
We do swear.
You don't.
We do.
You do. It's a dick slinging competition. Mine's bigger than yours. That's what
That's
it is.
what it is. You know,
That
it's
is
not
what it
taking
is.
us anywhere.
No.
It's not taking us anywhere. So it's a very interesting approach as a woman to come into the space and to care for what, like, and to include the lived experience.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right?
because you have to. You have to. We cannot have an imbalance in society.
Yeah.
In any way. The way we fought against it racially is the same way we've got to make sure that all the genders, I beg your pardon, are brought up in the same way, given similar opportunities. Like, I don't know how that's not.
Yeah.
Is it rocket science? Like, what's going on? But I do think I do think that we were trying to balance things out, and then maybe we overbalanced. And I think that's societal. Like a friend of mine was saying to me, we caused Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because we went all the way with the Obamas and wokeness and this and that, which was very important. But I think the way life works
people. So
is that you've got to balance,
coming
and it
back
comes
around
back, and now
we're terrified.
spin us around again,
Yeah.
and we'll course correct.
And I do like that because more often than not, it feels like an overcorrection.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my friend's mom was talking to us about dating and whatever. And there was this tweet that
favorite
went
topic.
viral on how women are the meanest they've ever been.
Yeah.
Right now. It feels like. This man was like, it feels like women are really, really mean. And even the response to that, the men were like, yo, yeah, nee, it's bad. And the women were like, yeah, that. We're mean because men are not being allocated.
First of all, I know which platform this was on.
Yeah, and like, you know Twitter. It always just kind of like explodes. But we were talking about it, and she was saying that she finds it interesting that with our generation, sometimes it feels like we are trying to correct the experiences of her generation and our grandmothers. So like, because our mothers went through things and a lot of our grandmothers went through things, we want to overcorrect and like prove the point.
Yeah.
But she was like, a lot of the time it's overcorrection because we're trying to be avengers about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is true. This is very...
It is a
yeah,
point,
because
yeah.
we can overcorrect when we're trying to fix things and nobody quite knows.
That's what
where
they call the
line
feminist
is.
agenda. That's why they hate feminists, I guess, you know, because it's like, it's too much.
Yeah.
You guys are taking it all away. You're taking all our power. But it's always such a power dynamic. Yeah.
You're going to feel like your power's taken away when somebody else is put on a level of the same power as you.
Yeah.
You're going to feel less powerful.
That's what it is.
Equality feels
So-
like oppression.
Yeah.
We are we are correcting. I know a lot of my life has walked in, okay, so these things were happening here in my grandmother's generation. That will never be me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also like the idea of, and this is a big discourse, I'm very addicted to TikTok. It's a big discourse on TikTok about how women find themselves in these relationships where like the man they're with hates them,
Yeah.
hates you. Is not a little bit irritated. It hates you, girl.
Is vindictive, is not romantic, does not
But does
make you
things
And the
tea,
stories
does
are
not make you
always-
tea,
I
does not
remember
rub
that
your
was
shoulder.
The whole thing started last year, but like, when was the moment
Yeah.
you realized you hated your girlfriend
Yeah.
or something?
Woo!
And it started, it was a South African man. So it started here first and it literally went internationally.
Imagine
to the
hating
point
your
where everyone is
girlfriend.
like, did you guys see the tweets about what? And people are reading the different tweets and it was just like,
And relationships are such like rich territory for like the shadow, like how bad things are, how
Yeah.
terrible people
yes.
are and unconscious about it. Like,
yes.
you
Yeah.
know, like how
yes.
things are not actually going. Oof, that's hectic.
Yeah, how did we get there?
But okay,
overcorrection.
lighten things up. Okay, I do have a
Overcorrection.
question.
Overcorrection.
I do
yes.
have a question to lighten things up. Comedy.
Sure.
Comedy is something that you do,
No.
but you're funny.
But I'm
and
a
you're
funny girl,
hilarious.
aren't I?
I feel like you have worked with a lot of comics. You
Yeah.
did the Comedy Cabin,
Yeah.
Play TV.
Yeah.
comedy is.
I love comedy and I
Yeah.
love comedians.
Yes,
My brother, of course, Pabi Moloi is a comedian. I love how comedians think. I love the analysis and the take that they would have that's different to maybe someone who's thinking more in a more linear way.
Yeah.
I love them. I love comedians. And I think comedians need a lot of love because I think sometimes they're coming from a point of almost disillusionment about the world.
Yeah,
This is what is this, you know? So no, myself personally, I wouldn't say that I've ever tried stand up. That thing petrifies me.
Hey, stand-up
You have
is
to have
something
balls
else.
of
Hey,
steel.
wow, get up and I'm funny.
Yeah.
Get up on stage and laugh at me. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, stand-up.
Yeah,
is tough.
stand-up is, I think it's one of the tough ones.
So I feel
hey.
lucky that I have a good sense of humor, and so I can pepper it into almost everything that I do. So television, and I come from physical comedy with what was happening on Play TV.
Yes,
there was a lot of falling over.
Play TV was so much fun.
Yeah, it was very, very physical and funny, and I think we managed to do that on Trending SA as well. Trending, we do little skits about what was happening in the news. It was a lot of fun. But as for me, Pabi Moloi, comedian,
No.
not yet. Don't never say never.
Yeah.
Fair.
Because I suppose a comedian is somebody who is a stand-up comedian, right? Who can, because what's the definition?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're a comic writer. Maybe
You're a comic writer
comedic
as
actor.
well. Yeah, okay.
Perhaps.
It is. Let's
And I-
respect them. Let's
And I
respect the
always
comics.
because people are always like, oh, everyone's so woke, you can't do comedy anymore. Like, how can we be funny?
And the comedy these days also wants to be woke.
Yeah, which for me doesn't.
You're just like,
Because for me, I'm like, you can make a woke joke.
you can.
Yeah.
But it's also like, you don't have to be inflammatory to be funny either.
Yeah.
for me,
Because
I'm
Dave
always like,
Chappelle, I love Dave
Tell me
Chappelle,
about
right?
your view of Dave, because I love Dave as well.
I adore Dave,
do
guys.
enjoy Dave.
I love him. I mean, and I also think of he was Black Jesus on one of them days.
Cat Williams.
Cat Williams. Cat
Yes.
Williams is a fire starter. He's rude.
Yeah.
He's so
I
smart.
love
He's
rude. I
very
love
smart.
rudeness. I value rudeness. And I think comics that are rude can get, they're funny. But I think, we're living in sensitive times. We need to be conscious. But at the same time, that's also just like such a policing of one's voice.
But the media is like that too. And particularly for Black Sterrings who are female. The media is like that. I know that you've discussed this in many ways.
Yeah.
But the media is like that. That if you look a certain way, you're not
Supposed
to. If you, even if it's your character, acts a certain way, you're not supposed to. Who says what I'm supposed to and what? Even if you bring out the Bible,
Why
stop.
not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a very so the limitation of what you can quickly get cancelled for or policed
cancel
for
culture,
is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that a lot more. It's interesting. I thought I'd see it a lot in talk radio. I had it quite a bit in television, but in podcasting for the first time, I'm seeing it a lot more. And so it's making me think that maybe it's like a youth or generational thing. And young people are like, or people, it's very easy to go, who said you could talk about that? Or like, why would that be your topic of conversation? And I'm always like, why not? We can talk about
Anything now.
anything.
Yeah.
Surely?
And the internet has really given us that freedom, truly. I mean, it is the Wild West and it's like no regulation. So,
I love it. I love it.
as
I'm having
well.
the best time of my life. I really am. I'm having the best time of my life podcasting now.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable. Yeah.
How's it been doing a podcast with your brother?
He always says to me, you need to stop looking at me like,
Because you do, don't you?
so then I go through all the episodes, and in every episode, I'm like, All right.
And he's like 17 years your junior. So
Yes.
he's like,
It's like quite an age gap. Yeah.
I was there when the child was
Yeah,
born,
you remember
people.
the day?
I remember the day. Literally leaving school in my school uniform, going to the hospital and holding him for the
And it
first
was such a
time.
big thing where it was like, you have to get out of class. Someone's
Yeah.
being born. That happens to my friend. We were all like, the
Right?
baby's coming. Yeah.
So I need to start like wiggling out of that.
Yeah.
Because
He's your baby.
because well, I need to stop it
But
because he is an
person.
adult man,
Yeah.
first of all.
And men, you know.
And
The male
but he
ego,
doesn't have that, a lot of that,
yes.
or at least it doesn't
Absolutely. They
reflect in
don't
our
these days,
in our relationship.
Rather they don't.
Yeah.
They don't what?
The male, the
young.
yeah, it's or rather like the hyper masculine.
Yes, and bravado,
Thing.
and yeah.
Feels like it softens up the younger men. Are getting,
Yes, I think so.
which is nice. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And he's also really smart, so he can think that through. Like, I don't know if you saw this thing about one gorilla versus 100 men.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so I think the men can take the gorilla. But he's like, no, think logically. Have you seen the size of a gorilla? And I'm still like, I don't care. There are 100 of
Yeah.
you can do it. So he's willing. There's no bravado there. Like, he's
Yeah.
very
Yes,
willing
there's
to
no-
analyze
Yeah.
and think and whatever.
Absolutely.
But the point of the matter was,
Yeah.
I love podcasting with him. He has been, in a lot of ways, the spearheader and the leader of this podcast team. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that I can rely on him in that way. So now the tables are starting to maybe not turn, but balance, right? Which is such a beautiful thing when you've had somebody who you've always taken along and put under your wing in many ways. So we're loving it. We're absolutely loving it. We
learning
love,
from him as well. Yeah.
yes. And we love having those conversations in that kind of personal space with us. And it's like here I go. Are you ready? Everyone do the face. It's a stamp of our love.
Absolutely.
You see, you have to do the face. It's a stamp of our love because we both love the arts. We both love critical thinking. We both love the space. And we get to do it together.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's really dope. Oh, wow. Okay, creative. Do you have a creative process? Just creative process. Do you have that? Like,
Sure. I like to play.
okay,
So-
that's the process.
Yeah, I like to play. So if I'm in, for example, a rehearsal for a television show, maybe trending essay, for example, we'd sit and we'd rehearse and we'd look at our scripts and we'd see what we wanted to add. I will take it to the full out extent. I will play 100% of the insanity or the hubris or whatever that needs in that moment. And then we'll bring it down to where it's, able to be consumed by people on public television.
Edited.
So I like to play. And even in my day-to-day life, I like to play. I like to, what's more important to me, because I know that I can learn any words. I know that if you put a script in front of me right now, I'd be able to present it. I know that part. I have absolute confidence. But for me, I need to be in the most open, most like jovial space mentally and emotionally. So I have to play. So the music comes on, the ridiculous choreography comes on. I like to play.
Yeah.
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 It works a lot for me.
And acting, I always wonder, like with broadcasters and voice people and presenters, like, would you cross over into acting? Would you
I'd love
cross
to.
over?
I'd absolutely love to.
Yeah.
I was talking to my son about, I think he was asking me about Noah and how long Noah was in the ark for, because
Oh, that's an interesting question.
yeah, because it rained for so long. So how long were they even in there? So I said, I think it was 40 days and 40 nights that it rained. And then it dawned on me, Oh, no, we were talking about rainbows. So the rainbow came at the end of the 40 days and the 40 nights so that God could show his promise to his people that, he won't obliterate us via flood again. And then it dawned on me that 40 is a very, very important number. Biblically, lots of things happen after 40 days or 40 nights or 40 years.
as well.
Absolutely.
That's true.
And so in that age group or bracket now, wow, I feel like I
the
want to do
40s,
new things.
Lordy, you're 40.
I want to be in different spaces. I want to play with things that I played with when I was a kid, right? Because that's always what I thought I'd do, along with music. That's what I thought I'd do. I fell into radio, and radio consumed me with salaries. And so
The salary is a
stable salary, babes. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've actually been on a whole host of auditions over the last few weeks. And so I'm very excited to get that muscle going.
See you.
Well, I mean, someone's got to cast me first. So then please cast me.
We are running out of time. I'm so
we
sad. I'm so sad. But
Should we do the last bit of questions?
what does the future look like? Do you want
Yes.
to?
Well, I mean, this answers it to a degree.
Yes, actually.
okay.
Acting.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, but also
acting.
podcasting, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's a
Lovely.
different space altogether. It's away from traditional broadcasting. I do have a television show coming on SABC3 in the next few months.
nice.
So that'll be fun. But I think a lot of it for me at the moment, and part of this 40 pivot, is ownership. I don't really want to be anywhere that anyone can make arbitrary rules just to make my life hard or
it's too late for all of
it's
that.
too late.
Yeah.
It's too late. I love that. It's too late. You are late.
Okay.
20 minutes ago, we could have done that. But now
you're too late.
it's too late.
Is there anything you want to see when it comes to the way Black women are represented on the screen?
the black femme.
Sure, I think
black,
that's...
black femme bodies.
Well, I
on
mean,
the
I love
screen.
even what you're saying about black femme, right? Because there's so much stereotyping of... I mean, the two of you are a perfect example, right? Your beautiful laid wig and you've got your shaved head, and I've lived in both of these worlds and I see how differently I'm treated out in the world.
Depending on what it is.
Depending on what it is. And so we see that kind of stereotypically in media, and it would be really nice to not follow a stereotype.
Yeah.
It would be really, really nice to kind of go, oh, this person has layers. And I know we have low budgets and maybe small amount of time to record things. So I have to see you and then understand who you are. Okay, BBL, nice life. You've got a boyfriend who's 72. He's bought you a Bentley. Okay, we got it. Before she's even said anything. But that would be really, really nice to see more layering and to see more nuances of us, because we're not all the same.
Yeah, we're not.
We have similar experiences in the main, but there are lots of things that people will never, ever, ever think as a Black woman you're interested in or you want to do. And that's a beautiful space for media to play.
It is. It's definitely a beautiful space for, I think also just like educational as well. It's like what people need to know.
Yeah.
People need to know that Black women, and I think that's also the work of what our fave Issa Rae kind of does, that is just she lets Black people be human. And what is that really? We
It's
don't
all
know
things.
these,
Yeah.
it's
But
all
it's all
things.
the
It's all
things.
things.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all the things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, we forgot about content. Sorry,
We
that was the
did
last-
actually. Oh my gosh, and that's the first thing
Content.
we
That's how
actually
we
do.
start.
I'm not making a TikTok.
No, we
But
don't
TikTok
have to-
is your content.
No, yeah.
That's
So we
it,
always
yeah, it's not your
ask. We
content,
always
yes.
start. Well, now we'll end.
Oh, guys.
Like, what the content you sign up for. What is a film? Is it an album? Is it a TikTok?
Is it
What
a
are you
restaurant?
into?
Is it an idea? Is it a person? What are you into? What are you hooked on?
What am I hooked on? I'm hooked on a lot of self-discovery at the moment. So I'm very much on that journey. But I've had so much therapy and self-discovery and being beaten with the Bible that I actually have no interest in anybody else's doctrine anymore. So I'm not on that tell them or let them. It's good, but I'm not there. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm very interested in watching Michelle Obama become Michelle again. I'm very, very interested.
That podcast is
with Tracy as well. I saw Tracy on it.
Quite a few. Issa Rae has an episode of this as well.
Yes.
But it's a really good podcast.
Yeah,
with her brother.
It is.
But I love watching how they, and I may get the exact specifics of what the events or occasions were, but it may have been the inauguration.
Because we need her story, bro.
And
we
then
need it.
there was the funeral of some ex-head of state, and she didn't go.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I remember there was an inauguration
and
that
then everyone
they're
was like,
tuning.
divorced.
Everything,
and she was
they
like,
would never
no.
get divorced.
Yeah.
They will never
She was just
divorce.
like, I just
I
didn't
mean,
want to
if they
go.
do, it's also fine.
I mean,
it's life.
but it was also just
marriage.
like, imagine.
I don't know anything about
There
marriage,
is a
by the way.
But I mean, I say,
Yeah, but I love
But
that
I
there
hear
was a
it's
universe
rap.
where she was like, I don't want to go to Trump.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to say,
I've
you
spent
get to
8
say
years,
no. You get to
however,
say
8+
no.
Years, sorry, 8+ years not having a choice probably in whether or not I can attend.
So do you know what she said? She said it was so difficult that she had to tell her team, do not organize a dress. Because if there's a dress,
then you have to go.
at the last minute you'll be like, oh, okay, there we go. They were like, she said, yay. A frock, a suit, pant, nothing, don't organize it for me. I'm not going. And I'm loving that because she was a whole person before she became floaters.
Yeah,
she was a whole person who, in fact, was more qualified than Barack, although we love Barack.
True.
But, she was in her own right the person who introduced him into the company and showed him around. So I love that she has that podcast, and I love watching Michelle becoming a lot more of herself. So I'm enjoying that very much. I love that Beyonce is on tour.
She is, isn't she? Yeah, and her kids. We just saw the baby.
He was so grown. Everybody's so grown up now.
Yeah.
And I really love that, though. I just want to sit on that. And like how she was like, I'm not gonna go. Don't make a dress. These ways that women can protest. And I also think of when you and your colored counterpart at KTV.
Oh yeah, we were like,
we're going to not
got our
speak
accents
this way.
back.
It's like the body is such a space for protest, for gentle protest for women to say like, if I'm not participating, that's enough. That's enough of a statement to make. And I'm just like, it's a good place to be.
And in media,
the power of your body.
Exactly. Exactly. And your voice.
Powerful, right? Yes.
Do you have to participate in every fight, in every engagement? No. And that's very, very powerful. And I'm loving watching that happen with Michelle. Very, very much so. Beyonce has a similar way of being, right? So in one of the interviews, I remember she was like, I remember all of the days I used to watch Michael Jackson. Nobody knew where Michael Jackson lived. Nobody knew and saw him at the mall. And so she decided that she's going to be an enigma. That's it.
The mystery, the old age mystery of celebrity.
And every now and then she'll
which we
go,
don't have anymore.
We don't.
Every now and then
too much about them.
she'll throw something and go, you won't break my soul. And then she'll just go back.
And then everyone is like, is she saying we need to quit our jobs? What did she say?
And people will, the think pieces.
Wait. Yeah, and she's just like, I'm not going to talk to you. Which is why everyone gets a jump scare where she does talk.
Yes.
It's like, she hasn't spoken the whole year.
It is true. Harnessing.
Sacred hand.
Harnessing.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that.
mystery.
I'm enjoying that a lot.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Alrighty.
Okay.
This was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
for longer and
No, we
longer
really
and
could.
longer. And
really could,
it's
you
such
know?
a beautiful
Yeah,
experience
it really
that
is.
you are bringing to the fore. And I want to thank you for that. Because I think we need to think more about it.
Yeah.
What are we seeing? What are we ingesting? And what does that then plant seeds in our mind to be, right? And things like Mosadi or Tshwara Tipa Kabohale. So I'm like, no thanks. That will never
Stuff
be
like
me.
that, you know?
We can only shift that when we realize what that is. Acknowledgement is a very, very big part of understanding. So thank you, guys. Thank you. Peter and Kunta, thank you for having me on the Black Sterring.
Thank you, Pabi Moloi.
for being
We've made it, guys.
It's
We've
a
made
dream.
it.
This
Thank
is
you.
a dream come true for me too. So I'm very happy.
This is wonderful alignment. Thank you so much.
so much.
Cheers.
And see it.
Yay.